right at 11, so I'll probably stick to our time here. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. This is kind of brought to you by the Diversity and Inclusion team that tries to recognize just different, mostly monthly focuses that focus on just different groups, different populations, different cultures. April is Arab American Heritage Month, so that is why we brought Dr. Hasan here with us to share today. And you probably saw the flyers that are around, but the title is A Virtual Journey Through the Arab World, Language and Culture. Dr. Hasan has a PhD in philosophy of language from the University of Nebraska that she got in 2013, and she is a teacher, researcher, and public speaker. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Dr. Hasan, and she kind of will speak for, she said maybe 15 minutes or so. So if you have questions, you can put those in the Q&A, and then there'll be time for us to kind of have a discussion, open questions, and that kind of a thing when she's done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you for the invitation. And happy Arab American Heritage Month. Happy Ramadan to everyone. As I was sharing with you, you're way ahead of us at UNL in celebrating the Arab American Heritage Month. So this is very informal. I'm going to be sharing with you quick facts, cool facts on the Arab culture. Nothing academic here. If you're interested in writing a dissertation about the Arabic culture, probably you won't find anything useful here. But my question is, or the question I'm going to be trying to address is, who's your Arab neighbor? Who's your Arab neighbor? How to know how to communicate in a healthy way with your Arab neighbor. And I'm going to be going over simple things here. So let me start with the question. And it's going to be short, but I'm more interested in engaging with you in a chat or a conversation after this. So I'm starting with a very simple question: how to call Arab people? And maybe like someone will ask, what is this silly question? Of course, I'm going to call Arab people by their names, right? Or their first names. And the big answer for this is a big no. Actually, according to the Arab etiquette in calling people, calling adults, it follows a very sophisticated system that I'm going to break it down to you in a simple way, how to behave really appropriate according to the Arab norms. Now, first of all, as an American audience, no one expects you to know all of this, right? But it's cool to know it because people will be really impressed if you know that. And usually in my classes, I teach Arabic language and culture at UNL. We go over both things, the culture and the language. So it's not appropriate to call adults unless you're close friends by their first names, unless you're invited to do so. And it took me a while to be honest, to get used to the American culture of just calling people you first meet by their first names. So how can I call people then? First of all, there is the formal way of calling people, addressing people in an email or even talking to them. It's Mr. and Mrs., Sayyid and Sayyida in Arabic. The more friendly way, the less informal way, especially with people, let's say, closer to you, relatives or close neighbors or family members, something like that, is Ammi, which is the paternal uncle, or Khal or Khali, the maternal uncle. Even if they're not relatives, if they're old enough to be that age, you can go with that. Especially teenagers and kids are encouraged to do that. So someone is visiting the family, they don't go just call the other adults by their first name. They show that they behave more if they just start by my uncle or my aunt, ammati, khalati, ammi, khali. Something very common, you will see it, is to call someone by Abu and Abu, let's say Khalid, right? The father of and the mother of. So to avoid, again, the trick is you're trying to avoid calling people by their first names. So this time you're playing the trick by calling someone the father of, usually it's the firstborn child, whether male or female. In some cultures, in Bilad al-Sham, in Syria, Palestine, and Jordan, they're a little bit more strict as well. So they go with the name of the firstborn male. So according to this tradition, the mother Zain, the mother of Zain. Some other cultures, they don't distinguish between male or female. So the mother of, the father of, kind of honoring them as becoming parents or for becoming parents. So here the idea is you're trying to communicate in a healthy way by trying to, first of all, avoid saying the name without any title, even if they don't have titles, trying to invent something. Sometimes if someone is married for a while and they don't have kids, right, they invent a name. So there was someone from the family, I always known him as Abu Ahmed, the father of Ahmed. He never had any Ahmed, but that was invented by friends and the community to make him feel like we're still, want to follow the tradition with you. Other ways of inventing titles to call people is Hajj and Hajja. And it goes to the Hajj pilgrimage. Usually it's an honor. The Hajj or the pilgrimage is done once in your lifetime. Some people can't afford doing it more. And it's conditioned by being healthy enough, wealthy enough to do it. So many times after someone go to that spiritual journey, after they come back, they get to be called by Hajj, and you say after it his first name, or Hajja, and after that her first name. It can work for the elderly, even if you don't know if they went to Hajj or not, kind of also honoring them. And by the way, this goes even with strangers in streets. So you're asking for directions. Someone elderly, you can say, Hajj, I want to ask you this question. For people your age, you can go with sister and brother. And this goes to the idea of brotherhood in the community. So anyone, even if a stranger, you can call them a brother, akhi, and a sister, ukhti. Things like Anisa, miss can go as well. Now, in a professional and official settings, you can be more formal. A physician, you can go with doctor. A teacher, ustad, someone working in an office, ustad. For sure, you don't call your teachers, your professors by their first name. This is a for sure thing. You never do it, actually. I've never heard of it in the Arab world. And usually it goes with the first name. So here I'm Dr. Hasan. It's doctor with my last name. In the Arab world, I'll be Dr. Abla. So it's doctor along with the first name. So it's a sophisticated system, but it's a cool system. Because what you're trying to do is trying to be very delicate, very supportive. So you're trying to call someone by adding something to their name. Many times it's reminding them of their acknowledgements, of their achievements. Of their achievements, acknowledging, I would say, their achievements. So even between close friends, sometimes they're gonna call each other doctor, just kind of a reminder, even family members. Now, with time, you will find people asking you no, you don't have to call me by doctor, just call me by my first name. But you need to be invited to do so. Of course, this is not written in stone. So if you don't follow it, that's fine. Especially if you were coming from another culture, no one expects you in the first place to know that. But if you do that, I always encourage my students who do study abroad programs or surrounded by Arab neighbors. We have a lot of them here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So you show that you're very sophisticated. You know the system. You've studied this culture. Let me move to the Arab etiquette in talking and communication, social communication. The elderly are prioritized almost in everything. This culture respects the elderly. So they eat first, they enter first, they sit first, they're prioritized in talking, they talk, you listen. Kids are not encouraged to talk while adults talk, especially to interrupt adults' conversation. So kids are encouraged to talk when responding to questions, right? So they're given their specific time, and usually adults will ask kids questions first to encourage them to talk. But once it's done, it's done. So adults are talking, it means kids will have to be listening. And many times this is a way to becoming an adult. So after a while of joining conversations where you don't talk as a kid, you listen. So you're learning, all ways of behaving and how to talk in an adult way, I would say. Crossing legs is not encouraged in front of adults or the elderly. You can cross legs all the time, but kids don't, let's say, cross legs in front of adults. Let's say sometimes students don't cross legs in front of adults or their teachers let's say, in an interview for something, not because it's anything, it's as a body language, because, body language is not the same across cultures. Sometimes it can be understood that you're not taking it seriously. So if you're talking if you're engaged in a serious conversation, so you don't go with that. What about shaking hands? This is a big deal in the Arab culture and causes a lot of confusion. Shaking hands is very encouraged, but between people same gender. Sometimes you enter the office, you shake hands, even if something you do every day. I've seen it all the time, all my life back in Syria. People go to their job, they shake hands with people they meet every day, right? Less common, I would say, here, or maybe it's not even the same. But how about, now this is the tricky part, how about people of the opposite gender? Now be very careful in shaking hands, because you can't tell who's willing to shake hands and who doesn't, who's not comfortable with shaking hands. It's very personal, and it's a religious thing that not everyone agree on, right? So sometimes you can see a veiled Muslim woman and she's willing to shake hands. A man, it's more tricky. Maybe a man with long beard, you can expect he's not willing to shake hands. Not the case for everyone. Recently, Princess Kate Middleton, in media, we've seen her while she was visiting a Muslim community center, and she had an awkward moment caught on camera when she extended her hand to shake hands with an Islamic leader, and instead he made a gesture which is common like this, which means I respect you, I would love to shake hands with you, but I'm not comfortable with shaking hands. And therefore my advice to avoid awkward moments to my students, always don't initiate shaking hands. Give a big smile and just wait. If the person is willing to shake hands, they're gonna start it. And absolutely avoid giving hugs to people of the opposite gender unless you ask before. You ask for that. Maybe this is more common now after COVID, where people like moved away a little bit from hugs and shaking hands without asking. Kissing on the cheeks between people the same gender is very common, is very expected. Don't be concerned if you get three kisses on cheeks. That's very normal. People same gender though, same gender. Smiling at strangers, not in big cities in the Arab world. Absolutely, I would avoid it with people opposite gender. Again, the body language probably can be understood as an invitation to something else, like a short conversation or exchanging phone numbers or anything like that. So usually you see people, especially in big cities, doesn't apply to towns, to small cities. A stranger you don't know, you just have a straight, friendly face, but with no smile, with no asking about weather, with no conversation, without knowing them first. What about Arab etiquette for housing guests? And this is a big deal, because to be a guest in an Arab house or to have a guest is a big deal. Usually, the golden rule is to treat your guest as a king. You never ask them when they're arriving. You would never ask them when they're leaving, right? And they stay as long as they want, and expect a lot of food when you visit an Arab house. Hospitality is a big thing in the culture, and it's a big thing both when it comes to Islamic religion and to Arab culture. And therefore, it's strong. It's a mixture between two things. When you enter as a guest, let's say, when you enter an Arab house, you sit where you're asked to sit. People have privacy. And you know, many Arab women, they go with privacy in covering their bodies, their hair. And therefore, many times after you knock the door, you're supposed to give people, let's say, before you go in, even after you're invited to go in, you give them some time. So people, let's say, women will get time to cover to get a scarf, let's say, or to go inside, things like that. So privacy, give people their privacy. Never refuse an invitation for food. All friendships in the Arab world start with a food invitation. And I always say that Arab cooking is time consuming. It takes a long, it's delicious. Arabic food is delicious. Go ahead and try something if you didn't do it so far, but it's time consuming, which means if people invite you, they're extending an invitation to you, which means it's an invitation to becoming friends. Never reject an invitation for food. If you're served food, and this is something you should expect, even if you say, I'm good, I'm full, because it's a shame to leave an Arab house without getting something. Even if you can't eat anything, at least say, I'm going to have it with me. If there's a box, I'm going to have it with me. I'm going to eat it later on. And don't forget to send like something complimenting people on how food like was delicious and good, again, because it's time consuming. Believe it or not, many times back in the Arab world, many times people resolve disputes and serious problems just by visiting someone and refusing to drink their coffee until the problem is resolved. So many times, let's say there's two families, they're not talking to each other, or there is a feud, or there is a problem, even if like it's in sometimes serious problems, even if it's a legal problem, let's say. If someone, volunteers to solve the problem, they can just take someone to visit, the third party, and they're going to say, we're not going to drink your coffee if you don't say, I'm done with this problem, I forgive you, or something like that. And many times it works, because you're going to be offending actually people if you leave without drinking their coffee or eating their food. And I remember one of my friends shared that with me, as she moved to Germany, and someone from the Arab culture, someone visited and refused to eat and drink anything, not knowing probably that she's going to end up offending them by doing that. So just sharing with you things from the Arab culture, simple for the outsider, but means a lot for people from the inside. How about taking gifts as a guest? You don't go empty-handed at all, especially if you're visiting someone for the first time. And usually this is done because you anticipate there is a huge feast, a huge meal waiting for you. So you respect that by taking something. What about opening gifts? You don't open gifts immediately. Usually you take the gift and you place it somewhere, like let's say on the top of the table. You say, thank you, I appreciate, you got me a gift, but you don't open it immediately. Arab people will take what they can afford, not what you're really wishing for. And I guess this saves, an awkward moment of pretending that you love the gift if you're not your style, it's not your color or your taste, right? Just trying to pretend, yeah, I like this, tie or something when you don't like it, because it's open later on. So people will open it after you leave, and will send you a thank you message after you leave, and then they're going to tell you, or maybe they're going to call you and they're going to tell you, I love what you sent me and all of that, but not in front of you. So if you take a gift to someone and they don't open it immediately, they just place it, doesn't mean they're not happy with the gift. it means they're acting the Arab way of getting a gift. Guests are not asked whether they want to be served, they're just served. Help yourself is not something even belongs anywhere to the Arab culture. Help yourself, serve yourself to food. The host needs to keep filling your plate. Even if you already invited them to, let's say, the dinner plate, you need to keep serving them. Again, showing extra kindness and hospitality. What about Arab etiquette for, let's say, formal interviews, job interviews, formal meetings recorded on cameras, things like that? As I mentioned, no crossing legs, try to avoid it. No chewing gum. Recently, in the wedding of Princess Iman of Jordan, Aya Sisi, she's the daughter of the Egyptian president. She was caught on cameras just chewing gum, and social media criticized her nonstop for that. Again, maybe something sensitive in the Arab culture. No eating or drinking unless you're willing to share. Usually, you don't eat in front of anyone without asking them, do you want some? This is really delicious. Definitely no eating and drinking during job interviews. And very, very, I would say, formal dressing in job interviews, even if no one told you to be dressed formally. It's the expectation. Even like professionals and professors in the Arab world, I see like many of them just, take it very seriously to be dressed very, very formally. What about Arab etiquette for dating and marriage? And of course, feel free to ask questions. I'm going probably through random things here. Usually dating takes place after and not before the announcement of the engagement. So even if there was like, let's say, time or a period of informal dating, now formal dating will take place after the announcement of the engagement. Families in the Arab world are very engaged in the whole process. So they need to know first, they need to be consulted first, and be careful. Mothers and mothers-in-law have authority, huge authority. You need to please them first. You need to include them in gifts. They need to give opinion in everything. And this is to give advice for happy families, get everyone involved as much as possible, I would say, because you can't get everyone involved in everything. The groom is expected to shower the bride with gifts. And again, this is showing generosity, showing part of your character, of course, as much as he can afford. Usually Arabs go with big weddings. And when I say big weddings, I mean big weddings, like 400 people at least in a wedding. The announcement of marriage in the Arab world is an announcement of a sacred relationship that everyone needs to know about, and everyone has the right to celebrate with you. So people will really get offended, even if they're just neighbors or someone from the town, someone sometimes you barely probably meet on a regular basis, and you don't invite them to your wedding because weddings are big anyway. So why to exclude some people? Dancing and rituals, not rituals, practices, I would say, and celebration practices vary from city to city, from Arab country to Arab country, and sometimes from family to family. Sometimes families are comfortable with a mixture, of men and women in the same wedding. Some will go with, no, let's have two parties, one for men and one for women. Even the circle dabke dance, a beautiful dance, sometimes it's only for men, sometimes it's men starting it and women making like ending the circle. Sometimes it's just mixture. Again, it varies. There are no rules. It's how the two families are comfortable. And therefore, for the two families to sit together and talk about all the details, including how we're going to celebrate this happy event, how we're going to have this wedding happen, is very important before the wedding takes place, because they need to talk about all details that otherwise they won't be able to sort out. I won't be able, even if you're from the same religion, the same culture, the same everything, I won't be able to know what you're comfortable with until we talk about it. A lot of food, reception, feast, things like that usually are served during weddings. What about Arab etiquette for friendship? As I mentioned, it starts usually with food invitation. So if your Arab neighbor invites you for food, know they like you, they want to start something there, they want to talk to you, they want to become friends with you. Fights over the bill. And I mean by fights over the bill, fighting who will pay for the bill. So you're in a restaurant. Usually it doesn't go like everyone pays for themselves separate. I've probably never seen it in the Arab world because someone will pay for the rest. And you know that next time we go together, you paid the last time, I'm going to pay this time. So it goes without saying. It's very funny many times here in Lincoln-Nebraska when we fight over the bill and just like we make people like, hey, end this now. Someone needs to fight and we're fighting. I'm going to pay. No, I'm going to pay. Things like that. During times of Eid and Ramadan, this is the month of Ramadan, people will exchange meals, exchange dishes. So they will, while they cook, they consider cooking more because they know that they're going to be including their neighbors with them. And this ends with a very rich table, iftar table or sunset dinner table. Why? Because you have, let's say you're in a building, you know multiple families. So let's say every family will send you a dish. You're going to have a lot of things to eat, even if you cooked only one thing. Now, when you return what they sent to you, and usually when they sent you something handmade or they cooked at home, you need to cook something at home as well, not to get, donuts or something and send it back. It's, of course, it's, people are not that picky. You can't do that. But usually I made something for you. I spend my time making something for you because Arab people cook with love, I would say. You cook with love as well and you send it. Again, it's all gestures. It's understood without saying. But if you don't know it or you don't do it, that's totally fine. Especially during Ramadan, I would say. And the closest thing to introduce Ramadan to American audience is to say it's a Thanksgiving dinner, but for a whole month. No one eats by themselves during Ramadan. Usually you invite someone. So it's a month of invitations. Whether they're Muslims or non-Muslims, you invite them if they're willing, of course, to eat, because the iftar dinner will take time very late after sunset. No one eats by themselves, and anyone has the right to knock on your door and to say, hey, I'm lonely today, I'm not eating with anyone, even if it's last minute, and you invite them to join you in dinner. Again, it's a mixture between the culture, I would say, and the religion, because generosity and hospitality was there in pre-Islamic Arab culture, was a huge thing. And then when Islam came just to support it. So Islam as a religion came to support what was already positive in the community and to purify what was negative in the community practices or things like that. It's said in the tradition that Prophet Muhammad used to be ashja' al-nas. He used to be the most brave, and he used to be akram al-nas, right? The most generous. And the tradition says, وَكَانَ أَكْرَمْ مَا يَكُونْ فِي رَمَضَانَ. He used to be generous, especially during Ramadan. A story in the tradition reports or mentions Aisha, his prophet, the prophet's wife, giving away a goat that they sacrificed to giving away all the meat and leaving only part of the shoulder. So after she gave away everything, she said, we gave away everything. We have nothing left but the shoulder. And he corrected her by saying, we have nothing lost but the shoulder, which means what you give away to people is what you consider as, rewardable and of value. What you keep for yourself is not that valuable anymore. In the Arab culture, there is a celebration of exchanging of gifts, all occasions. Usually when someone comes or comes back after a journey or returning from, let's say I'm visiting, let's say, I'm visiting Egypt. It's not happening, but let's say I'm visiting Egypt. So after I come back, I'm supposed to bring even small things to friends and close relatives. And people are supposed to come to visit me and to ask how was the journey, also expecting that you give them something from there, especially if they have kids with them. Sometimes it can be as simple as a chocolate from there. And there is a cool saying we say in Syria, we say المسافر إلك والهدية إلنا, which means you take the guest, we take the gift. So we're here for the gift, just, kidding about it. Gifts are given, all occasions, as I mentioned, expecting a baby, graduation, all types of community celebrations, things like that. Arab etiquette in verbal communication. And here I'm going to be addressing a little bit the language. What makes Arabs one culture is nothing but the language. And here you can imagine the big role the Arab language plays in the Arab culture. So it's not the religion, it's not one religion, because you can be a Jewish Arab, you can be a Christian Arab, you can follow any religion you like and you still be an Arab. So it's using one language. And speaking of language, and this is a question as I always get, what language I should start by learning? Because Arabs, they speak one formal language, modern standard Arabic or اللغة العربية الفصحى, but they have also their different lahajat, different dialects. And many times I get this question from students, what should I start with? And definitely the answer is you start with MSA. You start with modern standard Arabic. Why? Because this is the written language. This is the language of education. All people, regardless of their background, regardless of their different dialects in the Arab world, or in Arab communities in the West, or in Muslim communities, I would say, especially people, because Arabic is the language of the Quran. So it's an ethnic language, and it's a cultural language and a religious language. They all speak MSA, or at least they all understand MSA, right? They only choose to use different dialects. So if you switch to MSA with anyone, any Arab country, they're going to be able to understand you. It's the written language. So you go to social media, something as simple as social media postings, you're going to have comments written in MSA until today. You're listening to news, you're listening to podcasts, anything is going to all be, except of course, for some exceptions, it's going to be MSA. Al Jazeera, interviews, conferences, all in MSA, very formal, very beautiful, I would say MSA. Lectures, I know professors back in Syria who use MSA even in daily communication because they're highly educated. So you start with MSA, and then you can go from there, especially if you do study abroad program. In 2 months, you can catch phrases from here and there. But if you tell people that, hey, communicate with me in MSA, they're going to be happy to do that. They will know how to do that. It can sound awkward and sophisticated at the beginning, but you can switch to it and they can switch to it. And from there, you can go everywhere you want. Arabic language is considered by many as difficult. I would say it's different. Once you get used to the differences, including even, writing switching the direction of writing. Once you get used to it, it's very beautiful language, very poetic language, and very expressive language. Many students, because we teach both at UNL, Arabic language and culture, move from Arabic culture classes to Arabic language classes, and Arabic language classes to Arabic, two ways. Because many times you get just, you fall in love with the language out of getting exposed to the culture, or it's the falling in love with the culture that makes you really interested in knowing this language. But again, you start with MSA. I'm ending with this note, and I promised you I'm going to keep it short. Arabic is very expressive. I'm going to give you some examples when you tell someone, and this is all Syrian Arabic now, this is dialect. If you say, they ask you to do something and you say ala rasi, it means on my head, right? Your request is on my head. Or ala aini, your request is I'm going to keep your request in my eyes. So it's very expressive and these are things you say like daily basis. So you don't make even an effort to say them. Someone visiting you end the visit by saying Zaritna al-Baraki, for example, bless, that I was blessed by your visit. Something we use in Syria all the time when we say Tubri Albi, which means I wish you live long enough so you can not bury me, bury my heart. This is something you say. This is very informal, very casual. It's said without sometimes a serious reason. So it's very expressive, very poetic, a lot of, I would say, emotions of gratitude, love can be included just while you say things, right? You address people, you say, hey, Ayuni, my eyes, look, you have to observe this, or Habibi, my love, things like that. They're all the time. I am told, because I'm from Syria, that it's more common to people from Syria, and people observe that Syrian women are like, they say, you have a sweet tongue, you say these things all the time. But all the Arab culture shares that. I would say a sophisticated system of gratitude and saying thank you and showing engagement with your audience or someone talking to you. Tracy, I promised you I'm going to keep it short, so I'm stopping here.
No, it's great information. Someone did ask a question about talking about the proper dress when visiting an Arab country and overall how to be respectful of Arab culture when traveling. Yes,
this is a very good question. When you visit some Arab countries, you will be surprised that not everyone are modest there, not everyone are hijabi there or wearing the veil. This is a misconception. Many times in Arab cities, big Arab cities are 50-50. So you can just dress the American way, your comfortable way. You can dress in whatever you want. I don't see it as a problem. But if you want to now engage in the culture, you want to give a good impression, you want to observe other sensitivities, you're there in a mission. So I have a job interview. I really want to give good impression. You care about the way others will see you. So I would go with a little bit modesty, I would say. Little bit modesty doesn't mean head cover or going all the way. It means just maybe long pants, not very short shorts, I would say, things like that. But again, no one will force that on you. Again, you will see it there in big Arab, especially in big Arab cities. I hope this answered the question, but it's a very good question. So you start with a modest, and then you change it according to your level of comfort.
So the next one says, what TV shows and podcasts do you recommend for Arabic language learning?
I have a long list of short YouTube videos that I sort out according to the level, because the levels of Arabic we offer at UNL starts from 101 and ends with 304. So I can share my list maybe, so it goes with the level of proficiency. And I highly recommend many times something with subtitles. It's not bad at all to be engaged with what you watch, but you need to trick your mind that I'm going to be watching, I'm not going to be reading the subtitles until the last minute before the screen switches. And with time, you will observe that I can understand now more. But again, you need to be engaged, involved on something you love. Many times we use cartoon shows, but I don't recommend that because it gets boring at one point. So it's what you love. If you're into history documentaries, I would go with that. Anything you feel, I'm interested in this. The other trick we do is we ask students to tell us about their personal preferences. So if a student tells me I'm interested in sports, I'll send them something based on their preferences. So there are a lot there. I don't have anything directly to suggest now, because again, it's a long list of recommendations based on your level.
Okay, another question. Is there etiquette to be mindful of in giving compliments to friends or new acquaintances?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you rephrase it for me?
So just when meeting someone new, or maybe even just a friend, are there certain things when you're giving compliments that you should just do or don't do?
Yeah, specific to the culture. I can't think of anything specific, but with this, I give credit to the American culture. I love the American culture with, they never, say anything criticizing you. They're always, hey, you look great, even if you look miserable, even if you're tired, you're showing up to work, you're dead that day. Hey, you look great. I like that. So I would say it's similar, nothing, nothing like unique to the Arab culture with that.
So she clarified, is it appropriate to give compliments openly across gender or in certain areas? So
yeah, same like the American culture. Yeah,
okay.
same. Yep.
Okay.
Especially if you're, they're your colleagues, right? They know you, you know them. If it's a total stranger, right? No, I would avoid that. If it's a total stranger, especially a man, for example, complimenting a woman, this will be easily considered as harassment. So of course I won't do it at all. I won't even give a smile, not even a smile, or not even staring. No, people, different genders. Yeah. Now I get the question. Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Okay, so someone else has several questions, so I'll just kind of read a couple of them. He said, they, I should say, I don't know, tell us a little about dowries. That's all it says, so I don't have
yes, this is a good question. So dowry or mahar is a right to the bride, which is a bridal gift. And it's mentioned in the Quran. So it's not only a cultural thing, it's culture / a religious thing. So any girl, just for saying yes to the proposal, just for saying yes to the proposal before she is engaged in any marital duties, I would say, and before joining the new family or the new house, she deserves a gift. And it depends on mutual agreement. I would say, I know this sounds very shallow, if you can afford more, of course you go with a big gift. And the Quran says it very explicitly. If a girl says, I don't want anything, it's fine, right? If she's, let's say, madly in love with someone, he can't afford anything, but she needs to say it. She needs to say, I'm not interested in gifts. I'm okay with something simple. Let's say a simple ring or something like that. But if she's comfortable with, demanding more and he can afford more, she deserves to start her life with a gift. So it's a marital gift, I would say. This is dowry or mahar. And it goes to the girl. So if some communities, if some families think of it as an investment, because I heard it happens sometimes that the dad wants to take it, because it can be, it can be lands, it can be properties, it can be anything, right? No one has the right to take it. If they do it, they're doing it against what is the norm. Yes.
Thank you. Who is your favorite Arab writer?
I like Gibran. Where is Gibran? His book is always with me. Gibran Khalil Gibran. Gibran Khalil Gibran. I highly recommend The Prophet, which is a book translated. It's in English. Actually, he wrote it in English, basically, and got translated to Arabic. And this is a book out of the books I teach in my class, Love in the Arabic Culture. So if you're starting with something, go with Gibran Khalil Gibran, the Prophet, and go from there. It addresses special moments that all humanities share on love, on work, on marriage, on anything, he's highly celebrated in the American culture. Probably many people know of him. If you want to go from there to something like novels, of course, I would go with Najib Mahfouz. He's an Egyptian writer who won the Nobel Prize. Personally, I'm fascinated with Najib Mahfouz, so this will be another recommendation. But for starters, absolutely Gibran Khalil Gibran.
And I don't know if you are able to type the answer into that one, just so if this person wants to have it written down. Are you able to see the Q&As or
so
no?
A private question?
No, I just thought if you could type the book and author in that question so that whoever asked it could have it.
Absolutely. You know what? I can send you maybe a follow-up email with some links, with some useful links that feel free to share. Absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'll send it with the link to the book and some links to Najib Mahfouz's books, and maybe I'll remember others as well. So I'll send you a useful link. Yep.
That's great. I will, Catherine, I will type my email address in there for the person who asked that question so that she can email me with that. Let's see, another one. What is an appropriate way to ask about dietary requirements if I want to give an Arab neighbor a homemade dish?
This is very sweet. Yes, you can ask them just frankly, what do you eat, what you don't eat. If they're from a Muslim background, I would say they will avoid pork and lard. But again, you know, people have different, even personal preferences out of religious, you know, obligations. So I would ask first, and no one will be offended. No, they take it the opposite way. You care, therefore you ask. This is very sweet, by the way. Yeah.
Now they're just rolling in questions. So how can I show respect and consideration to those who are fasting during Ramadan?
I personally take it, you know, I love it when my non-Muslim colleagues send me first day of Ramadan Mubarak. So that's it. Just, you know, send a text message with Ramadan Mubarak. I highly value that when it comes from my non-Muslim colleagues at UNL. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Some people will tell you, should I eat and drink in front of a person fasting? You can't do it, you know, because you get used to fasting after a while. So no one will be really, you know, offended or craving what you're drinking. Or yes, it's you know, it's very simple, because here's the thing. I cook while I'm fasting, so it's not a big deal that there is food. I know there is food, right, in the world around me, so not a big deal. But send a text message with Ramadan Mubarak. They're gonna appreciate it, highly appreciate it, especially if it's first day. Because like I was like, when my friend sent it to me, how do you know it's Ramadan, like today? She just sent me a happy face.
Okay, and so this person was asking about holding hands. I don't know if that means, I'm assuming when you're dating, is that something you can do, not do? Is that thought of either way?
Yeah, again, it's very personal according to the couple, what they prefer, what they don't prefer. Is there a formal engagement there? Is it because sometimes the عقد النكاح or the contract is there, even with the engagement. So it's something between, you know, it's personal to any couple. I can't look at you know, two people and judge and tell them you have to hold hands or you don't have to hold hands, right? Because it's their relation. They're like, at what stage in the relation are like they. But strangers, total strangers, it will follow shaking hands. So I will be careful with that.
Oh, and they said they're asking about men holding hands with other men.
Shaking hands, yes. because men kiss men, on the cheeks in the Arab world, right? So holding hands, I think it's okay as well. It's same sex, like women holding hands, and boys and men holding hands, yes, and even kissing cheeks.
Yeah. And asking about pets, are there are dogs allowed as pets? Is it different than here? Obviously, we have a lot of people have dogs as pets.
Yeah. I've seen it more. I see it more common in the American culture to have a pet, either a dog or a cat. It was less common back in Syria. And maybe one of the reasons I would say it's a big city, a crowded city, and living spaces are really tiny there. So you need really to have a yard or a big space to have a pet. Cats, therefore, cats are more common there, probably. A minor comment, I made it once as well. Some people think like Muslims, not Arabs now, I'm talking about Muslims, hate dogs. There is nothing in the Quran against having a dog, right? There is a story, the Seven Sleepers, a biblical / Quranic story, where a heroic group of young men escaped persecution, maybe for converting to Christianity, and they seek refuge in a cave where they sleep for a while, and a miracle happens. We don't know how long they sleep, but before they're kind of resurrected, they come back to life, 100 years. But out of the group that the Quran mentions, a dog was there with the group, and he joined them, like in escaping the persecution and maybe in getting resurrected as well. So it's not something in the religion, but it's less common in the culture.
Yeah. Is it okay to go into someone's kitchen, or is that an area that's kind of, that you're supposed to stay out of?
Yeah, it's okay if you're friends with them. It's totally okay. If you want to ask permission before that, right? That will be appreciated. Nothing specific to the culture, but this reminds me of something specific though to the culture. And I'm happy you asked this question, because maybe I forgot to mention that. What about going in while wearing shoes, right? And walking on someone's carpet? I would highly recommend you ask permission for this one, especially if you're wearing muddy shoes or something like that. Why? Because the Muslim, and this is Muslims, okay? So I keep switching between Muslims and Arabs. Because Muslims, prayer involves prostration on the carpet. Usually there's another small carpet that's placed on top of it. But in all cases, your carpet needs to be not only clean, it needs to be pure, shiny clean. And therefore, people will appreciate if you ask, can I keep my shoes on, or should I take my shoes off before you step in? I would say many of them, again, because you don't say no to a guest, many of them will tell you, yeah, you can keep them on, right? But you show that you know about the culture if you ask this question anyway.
What are the cultural feelings about Arabs and or Arab Americans dating or marrying people who are not of the Arab culture?
Not Arabs. I see a lot of those cross-cultural marriages. They're more common now. Maybe families will be more strict with the religious aspect of it, right? But if it's different ethnicity, same culture, I don't see any problem with that, unless, again, it's personal preference. Some families, they like to go very intimate with, who they're going to be like having as their future in-laws. But nothing that I can generalize as the norm. Again, it's personal.
just a comment. This was very informative, and thank you very much for your time. This has me more interested in the Arab culture.
Thank you.
So that's a great
Thank you so
thing.
much.
I have a question,
Yeah, go ahead,
if I
Amanda.
may. So, how long does it take between the engagement and the wedding?
It can be a couple months, it can be days, it can be years. Again, it depends on the relation. I was engaged for 14 days. I fall madly in love with my husband. It was love at the first sight, like 14 days, that's it. My close friend, she took 2 years engagement because they were like, they got, into buying a house and furnishing it and all of that. So it's very personal, not a cultural thing. Yeah, maybe I'm sharing too much today.
No, that's fine.
I have a big mouth. I should be like.
No, I like
Another-
it.
Yeah, and
Great
another
to hear.
question I had has to do with the gift that you bring when you visit someone.
Yes,
Could that ever be food?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. If something you make, right, or something you buy, it can be food. Actually, it's anything. But food is highly appreciated because they know you're putting your time and energy in this as well.
Okay.
Thank you for your questions.
Well, I don't see any others. Amanda, I don't know if you can see the, but I think we got to most of them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
I
thank you for
really appreciate
celebrating
it.
the Arab American Heritage Month at South Community College. We're so proud of you. Thank you so much for your invitation.
Yes, it was great, so informative. And you can just send me any of those books or authors that you were recommending, and then I can send those out to anyone. For anybody
Absolutely.
who wants to reach out to me, it's just tkerner@southeast.edu. So if anybody wants that information, feel free to email me and I can email back to you when I get your information. So
Absolutely. I'll send you more than what I mentioned. I don't
Perfect.
remember everything, when just asked, but now I can send you a more useful long link, I would say, or long list of links.
yeah, that would be great. Thank you again so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Have
Thank
a great
you.
rest of your day.
You
Thank
too.
you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.